Welcome to the Solana Forecast for August and September. All right, so we're looking at the previous week here. And we just got, Solana went all the way up to 209, almost 2,210. But we got selling action all the way back down to 190. So still not getting a confirmation of a move up. Unfortunately, many people were thinking we could have a big move up this month. So far, not so much, but we'll have to see. We'll have to stay tuned with what's to come. I'm thinking we could head up to like 220 or something like that. I think it's definitely possible, not guaranteed. Before we potentially see another correction, and there's certain reasons for that. But who knows? I mean, we could get up even higher. Or we just continue to stay below this green line here at 195. Very, very difficult to say. We'll have to take a look at the astrology to see if there's any hints for us. As that's what we do on this channel. We take the Genesis block of Solana, and we can run an astrology chart off of that. All right, I've been doing this for more than 2 years, and have been doing quite well. Okay. So let's zoom out a little bit. When in doubt, zoom out. And so we take a Fibonacci line from the peak of the Trump pump back in January to the lows of March 31st. And we get a 50% level at 195. So that's like a really critical level. We're still sitting below that. So we're slightly in a weak position still for Solana. We need to break above 195 and hold that as support, which we still haven't been able to do. We still have a little bit more time, but there is a big concern September 8th, which I will talk about, which I've been talking over and over about on this channel. So if you haven't already, definitely subscribe, as I'll be giving out more epic content. All right, guys, and we're still at about 85% accuracy with our predictions, but it's difficult to predict these markets, that's for sure, lately. So I haven't been sticking to my gun on any major predictions. It's just very, very difficult. But I think any balanced, intelligent person will not tell you that we're going to go to the moon, or we're going to see a huge dump with 100% certainty, because crypto is unpredictable. Crypto is extremely volatile. But looking at the charts and looking at, on this channel, astrology to help to give us an extra edge on the markets can help us with basic probabilities. All right. And let's look at the Solana versus Bitcoin. Let's look at the major 50% level. So we go from the peak of March 2024 to all the way to the lows, the bear market lows of December 2022. 50% level comes out right here, this green line, and we're still below that. We're still below this green line. We're right here. We want to hold that as support. And once we're able to break through there, it is going to be a very, very good day. But we're going to have to hold a weekly close above that. And potentially wait 2 weeks to see if we get a confirmation. Now, I have a little note here to look at what Ethereum did in the last cycle. So the last cycle, Ethereum, if we go back here, Ethereum looks pretty similar to what Solana is looking right now. Not exactly similar. I mean, they're different assets, but fairly similar. Where Ethereum dipped below here. Now, Solana is really being held up at these levels, but what did Ethereum do after? Once it broke through this 50% line, it got a big move back up. But it actually did not get a new all-time high versus Bitcoin. So we'll see if Solana is going to do something like that, or if it's going to do the unexpected and have a much stronger move up. But I mean, it's just food for thought. It's not guaranteed, but I was just, comparing Solana to Ethereum as, they're fairly similar assets. Solana's arguably faster and cheaper. But yeah, there's a chance that we get like something like this. Maybe some sideways action after that. Or if Solana really outperforms, we could get an all-time high. But this is Solana versus Bitcoin. We'll have to see. It's really getting held up down here so far. But if we can break up here, well, really, if we can break past this 50% level and get a monthly close above it, that would be really very bullish. But still haven't gotten any sort of confirmation on that. We look at the exchange volume. Exchange volume is pretty low. I mean, it's 371 billion there. And, it's 71% up in the last 24 hours. That's got to continue heading up. The 24-hour longs versus shorts is 52% shorts. So the market is out of balance right now. And typically we see a major trend reversal. However, there's not really enough volume. We want to see volume get it right now in the last 24 hours. Liquidations are at 535 million. We want to get up to 1 billion because the market has really grown in the last year. And usually when we get up to 1 billion in volume, then we see a major market reversal. But so far, I don't think there's enough volume. If we look at the daily exchange volume, and this is the entire crypto market, not just Solana, but it's starting to go down again. And there's this little, in the short term, there's this like little double top forming here. So the fact that it's starting to go down, I'll zoom in, starting to go down again is not good. That's another little peak there. And so the volume could be heading back down. That's not what we want to see. So that's definitely concerning. And shall we go ahead and look at the Solana astrology? Because that's what we do on this channel. Yep, we might as well. All right, let me move this over here. We look at this. So really interesting. So I have 2 astrology charts for Solana as most people don't know for sure. I don't know for sure what the exact birth date is, if it's March 16th, 2020, or the other chart that I'll show you in a second. We do have this positive astrology coming in here, Saturn sextiling Solana Saturn from the 23rd to the 20th to September 20th. That's positive, but I'm still concerned about on the 7th, we get a total lunar eclipse, and that's typically very bearish. We do get Jupiter trining the Solana Neptune on September 5th, which can mark a peak. I'm not saying the bull market peak, but it could be a local peak. But I'd actually be surprised if we got a peak right there. I mean, it's possible, but let me review really quick the Ethereum chart, because Ethereum is what we have a lot of history with. And look at the blue vertical lines. Those are the previous total lunar eclipses. Historically, Ethereum gets dumps heading into these total lunar eclipses. So let's even zoom in a little bit. And, in the last cycle, Ethereum started dumping 2 weeks before that total lunar eclipse in 2021 in May. And then look at these blue lines, the market goes down. Those are total lunar eclipses. These 3 blue lines, markets goes way down and it's in a bear market. All right. And so Solana likely will follow. And if we look at Solana, we had a total lunar eclipse in March, and Solana got this massive dump heading into that total lunar eclipse in March. All right, right after the Trump pump. That was brutal. And we're heading into another total lunar eclipse. So thinking we're going to get another correction around then. I don't know how deep. But, I mean, usually it's very deep. But the fact that, the market's holding up so strongly, who knows? As it's really quite unpredictable. But, yeah, I don't know how low it could go. I don't know if it's going to go to, like, 170 or 151. It could. Or if it's going to go to, like, the 120s again. Your guess is as good as mine, honestly. Because who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with these world events? There's so much going on. Anything could happen. But I'm thinking something kind of like this. And if we go back to the Solana astrology, I'm going to see if we see anything with the progressions. This is a little bit more advanced. Okay, we do see some positive astrology right at the end of August. So we could see a peak potentially at the end of August. But I'm not getting too optimistic because we're heading into that total lunar eclipse in a few weeks here. Very soon. So I might even be taking some profits soon if we don't just start to correct from here. Let's look at progressions to the radix. Okay, we got a good transit in November, so November's looking pretty good. I'm gonna look at the second chart. This is April 9th, 2020. And so we get different transits here hitting the Solana chart. We've got positive on the 12th, positive on the 11th, but we're still not getting any major breakouts with Solana. I mean, it's doing all right, but not as good as Ethereum. Not really as good as Sui so far. It could definitely catch up, that's for sure. Solana can make massive moves. It has Jupiter trining the Solana Neptune, which can bring peaks on September 10th, but that's right after the total lunar eclipse, so I don't know if we're actually going to get a peak there or if it's going to get a dump. And then we get Saturn conjuncting the Solana Mercury, which can bring corrections. So Saturn can bring tough lessons in reality, contractions in the market. Mercury is the planet of trading, and so it can bring some contraction to the markets. Then we get Jupiter squaring the Solana Sun, slight negative. That's in September. So that's just why I'm leaning more and more towards a correction in September. And let's see, progressions. Yeah, let's see, anything sticking out. I mean, positive transit on September 11th, but that's right around that total lunar eclipse, so I'm not going to get too optimistic about that. Jupiter opposing the Solana Pluto. Jupiter brings expansion, and Pluto can bring explosive moves and changes, big market shift. And it's a planet of wealth as well. That's in November. So actually, yeah, November's looking more and more and more good. So I'd be more bullish heading into November than September, that's for sure. We do get this slight positive on September 4th, but once again, that's 3 days before the total lunar eclipse. So I'm not going to get too excited about that one, as I'm still thinking we could get a correction in September. Yeah, that's just really what I'm leaning towards. And another indicator that's pointing towards that correction is, this is Jason from TIA. This chart is the S&P 500 20-year cycle. And this shows a correction actually at the end of August, heading in September. Then, you know, the red line tries to get a new all-time high, but it gets rejected. And then another dump through September, heading into October. And then it kind of bottoms out in October and then heads it back up in Q3. So typically crypto follows the S&P 500 pretty closely. And so overall, this looks like, you know, not very bullish for August, September. And then it looks a lot more bullish in Q3. Yeah, and so this lines up quite well with the Solana astrology. With it, we were getting that Saturn transit in September, which could bring a big dump. And that total lunar eclipse, which historically was very bearish. Just like I was saying, look at the last time we had it in March. Massive, massive, massive dump for Solana. So still concerns there. We're still not out of the woods. I would say more buying opportunities. So I'll probably be taking more profits very soon. You know, I'm hoping we could get another pump up, but it's definitely not guaranteed. But we'll just see what the markets have for us. You know, there could be some crazy news that comes out. you know, the WAR gets resolved and then the markets would pump. So who knows what's going to happen. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you haven't already heard about it, I'm hosting a Crypto Astro Retreat where I share everything that I've learned over the last many years of doing markets and astrology. This is happening November 1st through 7th. This will be all about a retreat about maximizing our crypto profits. All right, especially because we could be having a very good end of the year in Q4. And it could be, I think, a very good plan to start at least putting together a profit-taking strategy, if not taking profits in Q4 of this year. So definitely check out the testimonials. Click here to sign up, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace out, everybody. Let's see if we have any comments here. Do I think Solana can hit 250 in August or September? I would not bet on that. I would not bet on that. I don't think we're getting to 250 in the within August, September. Yeah. Definitely by November, I would say. Maybe, yeah, sometime in November. Hi, I believe we hit 1 billion in liquidations a day or two ago. Yeah, let's see. I think we did. I don't have a screenshot of that. And what happened a day or two ago? Let's see. We got a peak there. Yeah, so we got a peak and then we got a big trend reversal. So now we're heading down. And so I'm waiting for 1 billion in liquidations. You know, let's say if we head down a little bit, or I don't know, somewhere around where we are now, maybe tomorrow, hopefully. If we get 1 billion in liquidations and there's still more people shorting like there are now, then I would be buying some more because I would think we're heading up from there on. But we're still not there. We're still at just 500 million right now. Okay, good question. I heard something about a planet parade. When is that? Not sure what you're referring to. Solana ETFs should get approved in September. Shouldn't that be bullish? Yeah, you would think it would be bullish, but look at what happened when the Ethereum ETFs got approved. Take a look at this. Wait, let me go to the right chart. There we go. Ethereum ETF was approved right here. And look at what happened to Ethereum. Massive dumps. All right, so ETF approval, it's long-term bullish, but not always short-term, because short-term we can get massive dumps. It wasn't until, how long did it take? A year later, we had to wait until Ethereum bottomed out here, and now it's super bullish. So, yeah, don't get super excited about that we're going to the moon if the ETFs get approved. Maybe it could be bullish, but it wasn't for Ethereum, at least until a year later. Hey, Jesse, what's up? If looking to sell or take profits and then they in again for October, what timing would you be looking at? I wouldn't be taking too many profits. Just speaking to you, Jesse, since I know your situation. I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think you got in at a good level. I mean, you could do like 10%. Maybe you could take out 10%. But I mean, as long as you already have cash still available, I would just hold. I would just hold what you have, and just if you want, you can buy more in October. And I'm thinking like it could even bottom out like at the very end of September, maybe beginning October. So that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, I wouldn't get too worried about that. Yeah, so as long as you still have cash, there's always an opportunity to buy some more in. Okay, well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and I will see you on the next one. Peace, everybody.